What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Pleeka video. Today we're going to be going through the Planet of the Apes, the TV series. Today we're talking about episode 1, Escape from Tomorrow. So if you don't know anything about the Planet of the Apes, the TV series, it's not connected to the original movies. It's kind of like an alternate version of what could have happened then, with very similar characters and similar to basically instead of Taylor, we have two people now. We have like Paul and Alan instead of Taylor, and Zaius is still in this. Like there's still some connections. It's a lot of the same actors as well. It's a lot of fun though, so far at least. I've only seen the first episode. Roddy McDowall also plays the main ape, as he does in the original Planet of the Apes. But enough jibber jabber. Let's just get right into the episode. We're going through episode by episode, so there will be 14 videos on this if you guys enjoy this. If not, then I'll just do like an episode or two, complete the series, and we'll do one on that. But yeah, so let's get into the first episode of Planet of the Apes, the TV series. Alright, so it starts out with the little boy ape, and he's wandering through the woods, I believe with his dog. He finds like a lady climbing a tree or something, and it's barking at it, but it's like a pre-setup to him stumbling through the forest, and he finds a crashed spaceship. So after that, he kind of fucks off. He goes over, I'm assuming he goes back to his other apes, and he's gonna inform them to come, but we don't see that. We just see him kind of fuck off. But so then a random human walks over to the spaceship and he hits a little button on it. The door opens up. He goes inside and he starts checking out everybody. He sees that they're all passed out dead. I don't really know how you passed out alive, but they're passed out dead. And it's fucking crazy. He goes in there to like mess with them and he like grabs them by their hair and yanks them back and is like, nah, that guy's dead. Oh, what about this guy? Nah, he's dead too. He does it. He actually ends up saving two of them, and he's a pretty good character later on, but fucking, he's a weirdo in the beginning, I gotta say. A lot of apes end up pulling up. I'm assuming because of the little guy went off and told all his friends, so then now they're coming to check out everything. There's a sick ape in there with an eye patch. I like eye patch ape. That's pretty cool. He wants all the remaining bodies buried, and then he sends out his scouts to go find the two people that are missing. Eventually, though, the two astronauts wake up and they start chit-chatting about what happened, and they say that they ran into a radioactive turbulence and they lost control, and one of them told Jonesy to activate the automatic homing device. Did you get all that? Did all that make sense for you? Fuck. So basically, they got all fucked up, wibbly wobbly in space. They hit the button to go back to Earth, and it sent them here to the Planet of the Apes. At this point, they're wondering if they're on Earth or if they're not on Earth. What's going on? So the random human, the guy from earlier, apparently his name is Pharaoh. He comes back. He gives them some food, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, all your friends are dead too." You know, the other guys, they didn't make it. But so the boys, after they eat, they're looking around. Like they said, the place looks like an old bomb shelter about 100 years ago. And they're like, well, Earth didn't have bomb shelters 100 years ago, so that couldn't be the case. And I don't understand how they came to that conclusion, because at this point, they have no idea what time period they're in. I mean, I don't think at this point they're thinking they time traveled. So I guess maybe that's why. But you're on a planet filled with apes talking to you and you've been kidnapped. I think maybe time travel shit could maybe pop into your head. Right after that, you know, Pharaoh leaves. I forget what he's doing. He's gonna go do something. He leaves. They walk outside to go for a walk to look around. Immediately shot at by apes. Fucking gorillas stroll up and start shooting at him.
What kind of planet is this?
So we learn from, I'm not sure who, maybe Pharaoh, that there are only apes in the High Council because apes are way smarter than humans. So the old human ends up showing them a history book. He doesn't know it's a history book. He calls it like a fairy tale or a storybook or something. But he ends up showing it to them and they're flipping through it, and they end up seeing that they are at least up to the year 2503. Because that's like when this picture is taking place of New York or whatever at the time. And that is 500 years after they left. Can you imagine that? Everything you've ever known, seen, anything like that, gone, dead. That'd be fucking wild. Although then maybe you just become a new you. Jerome 2.0 or something. This part, I originally thought this next coming up part was like a reference to the first movie, but I learned that, you know, they're not connected at all. But they mentioned that some humans, in a spaceship, landed here like 10 years ago or something.
More than 10 years ago, another such ship landed. Humans. They said they were from this world, but from another time period, long ago.
But it just landed here years ago, and I think that's where they got some of these weapons that they have throughout this episode. Like they have some grenades and maybe some guns and shit like that, so maybe that's where they got that from. I'm not quite sure. But they briefly mentioned that there were some humans that landed on a ship years ago, and like, it feels like it's like a, hey, the original Planet of the Apes, maybe. But like, obviously that doesn't make sense because Planet of the Apes 2 the whole fucking Earth blows up, so that can't work. But yeah, so I'm assuming maybe in a couple episodes we'll learn about some other people that landed here, but for right now, I don't know what that means. So the creepy old man, I don't know why at this point I wrote that he's creepy, but a creepy old man, he ends up guiding them back to their ship. He distracts one of the gorillas by being like, hey, the two guys, they're over there. And then they run off so then the guys can go sneak into their ship and get something that they need, or at least look around and see what's left of it. But when they get there, they realize that all of the apes destroyed everything in their ship, leaving it completely useless. Nothing in it works, at least that they know of. But it does show their navigation or whatever tells them what year they're in, tells them that at least it stopped working in the year 3085. So it could be further than that. They could be way farther in the future, but they're at least up to 3085, which I don't know. I don't think they said is however many years after they left, but you could figure that out, I guess, if you're good at math and whatnot. So while they're in the ship, they hear a gunshot. They go outside. They see Pharaoh running up. He falls over and dies. Galen, the ape that we're going to be following for most of the show, at least with the good guys, he runs up and steals Pharaoh's bag and the book, the history book that he was showing the boys. But he ends up reading that at a campfire. He's looking through all the history book pictures. He ends up seeing a gorilla at the zoo and some things like that. And he's like looking around like, what the fuck? This is crazy. What is this book? It's like Game of Thrones or some shit to him, you know? Man, I wrote down a lot of shit for this episode that no one's gonna care about. Oh, and then at this point also our astronauts got kidnapped by these monkeys. After Pharaoh died and he stole the book and shit like that, they kidnapped them and they're tied up very conveniently. They're tied up at a tree with a little rock behind them so that way they could cut their way through, very conveniently. Galen walks up to them and he's kind of asking them about the book. Is this true? Is this not true? They say yes, and then he's kind of like, hey, it can't be. He's just asking them a bunch of questions about it. But eventually, he brings up that he sees that the gorillas were in cages at the zoos and things like that, and he asks them why did that happen. And they end up saying it's because apes were considered wild animals back in those days, and they weren't as intelligent as they are now. And Galen's like, poppycock, what are you talking about?
No, it's all lies. Apes have always ruled the world. Always!
So this gorilla ends up getting this really weird grenade thing. It honestly looks like a submarine grenade or something, but it's like really fucking tiny. He ends up using that in court. He throws it and blows up on a door as like an example of how much humans destroy things and like how bad they are, even though he's the one that had the grenade and threw it. Humans are the bad ones because they made the grenade, I guess. Pretty stupid point, but they're apes. What are you gonna do? That's a madhouse. But so they're in court. After a brief court scene, the boys get thrown back into the jail cell, and one gorilla whispers to another gorilla, like, hey, I know what you know what you need to do tonight, right? And do it at dark. Galen suggests to Zaius that, maybe if we were all equal, the world will be a better place, there won't be fighting, things like that. He ends up getting threatened to be arrested because of that. Zaius does not like that idea at all.
I could have you imprisoned for that.
But at this point, you could really tell the book is getting to him, and he's starting to think like, oh shit, maybe we did kind of steal this from the humans, or maybe something did go wrong. According to Alan, all they have to do to end up going back in time, to go back where they came from, is they have to go to their ship, get this little computer thing, take it out, put it into a working computer, reverse the shit, figure out where they came from, where they need to go, and they can get there. Seems a lot fucking harder than that, but he made it seem pretty easy.
Everything that happened from the time we left home until we landed back here on Earth is recorded on that magnetic disc. Now, all we have to do is run it through a computer, analyze what went wrong, reverse the process, and we can get back home again.
But he is hoping that maybe the humans that were smart enough to make some of these weapons that the apes have were maybe smart enough to have a computer or build some kind of working computer. So it's really like a fingers crossed situation. Let's hope there's something out there. But so the gorilla who's standing guard, the one from earlier that got the little message, he walks in to go give them some fruit, and then as he's leaving, he leaves the door open like a little crack, and then he leaves the other door open a little crack as well. He goes outside and he just stands guard and he's waiting for them to come out. It's a huge trap, and they end up figuring that out pretty easy.
I said I'm still hungry!
One of them bangs in the door or something, it flings open, and then they're like, oh, this is probably a trap, but whatever. I mean, what else are we gonna do? Let's see what this trap does. So Galen sees all this happening. Galen sees the gorilla standing outside, he's watching it, and then as the boys come out, he sees the gorilla pull out a gun, so he yells for them to run, runs over, tackles the gorilla. They kind of have a little scruffle, and the gorilla ends up shooting himself in the stomach, or Galen pulls the trigger. Galen gets blamed for it, but it's kind of unclear what actually happens there. But either way, the gorilla gets shot and dies, and Galen gets blamed for the whole thing. He gets arrested, they find his book, it's a whole mess. But so then the boys, they end up grabbing a guy around the corner. They say, take us to Dr. Zaius, because they want to go there and they want to figure out where the book came from, where their weapons came from, all that shit, to maybe find their computer. They go to Zaius' house, they take the other grenade that the gorilla left from before, they kind of hold him hostage with that. And while they're bickering back back and forth, he ends up mentioning that he's gonna kill Galen on top of them. So then they go, oh, fuck this then, and they take him and make him bring them to Galen to go save him. I hope you're following all this. So they make it to Galen, they get inside, they trick a gorilla and knock him out. And then they get inside, they can't find the key anywhere, so they just use their grenade to blow open the door. And they get Galen out of there. They end up getting to their ship. They get their weird little disc out of there. It takes Alan like a long fucking time to get it, but he gets it eventually. They have to scurry off because they hear horses, and only apes have horses, so you gotta watch the fuck out. And then in the distance, you hear the apes blow up their ship. We don't get to see it, unfortunately, but you hear them blow it up. And then the episode ends with the boys walking off into the forest. Fingers crossed, hoping to find a computer. Yeah, that's where we end it. Yeah, let me know if you guys like that, if you want to see more Planet of the Apes content, because I will gladly do every episode of this show. This is so much fun. Planet of the Apes is one of my favorite, like, movie series, so I'm glad I found the show of this to be able to do this. But yeah, that was the first episode of Planet of the Apes. If you enjoyed that, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace out, apes.